Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch, the third, coming to you live from the palatial studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Irvine, California, for another episode of Not Quite After Midnight. Midnight. Joining me from a more than acceptable safe social distance are my guests for this evening. Lynn Hightower. How are you doing, Lynn?
I'm doing great. How are
I'm
you
doing
doing?
just peachy. And Brad C. Anderson. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing A-okay.
Awesome. So we were just talking before we got started, which isn't fair because, of course, none of the audience could hear us. Where are you two from? Either one can start.
All right, I'll go. I'm the boring one. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I'm Canadian, eh? So right now I'm just getting my bucket ready to start bailing all the rain we're getting.
Oh, see, everybody loves Canada, so that's not boring at all.
No,
I'm from
you
Kentucky.
blame Canada.
Yeah, you blame Canada. Yeah.
We blame you.
Right.
I live in the South. We take all the blame.
That's true.
Yes, we do. No, I'm in Kentucky and I live in the Distillery District.
Cool.
That's so. What's Kentucky that people who do not live in Kentucky wouldn't know?
Um,
What are some cool things?
Kentucky is very beautiful. 3/4 of it is farmland. And when they say bluegrass, the grass is gorgeous. And like 2 minutes from my house, you can get out in the countryside, uh, and the horse farms are and big ash trees and big black walnut trees, and it's really very beautiful, very beautiful.
I love it. So like 3/4 farmland, 1/4 distillery district.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
And
Kentucky.
I've got both right here in the Distillery District. Quick to get to the farmland. No, and the city of Louisville has the biggest Victorian neighborhood in the country.
Wow.
Right.
The Victorian houses there are unbelievable.
We've
It's
got a
incredible.
nice Victorian district out here in a little town called Redlands. And
Really?
yeah,
We
it's
got a city called
yes.
Victoria.
Oh,
Does that count?
Yes, you do.
Okay, you just trumped both of us. I mean,
Well,
just
it's not very
city.
Victorian, but it's got the name.
I was thinking it was the whole city. It's not.
What's that?
I was thinking it's the whole city. It's not.
Well, Victoria is the whole city, but yeah, it's not a very Victorian style of city. It's just the name.
I live in a little bitty Victorian cottage, so I'm kind of Victorian obsessed.
Cute.
Cool.
Is it haunted?
No, I
No.
made sure it wasn't before I moved in because two of the last houses I've lived in the last years were very haunted.
Yeah.
And you
Got
can
the
go from,
cuckoos.
oh, I just read about it, I don't believe it, to, oh my gosh, I don't have to make anything up. I can just put it all right in the book what happened last night.
I
But,
love it.
it sounds like you'd love it, but I don't think you would.
I love it when it happens to other people.
Okay, then you will love this because, oh my gosh, I lived in a house where, be sound asleep and suddenly the water would go on in the bathroom, just full blast.
Creepy. Dude,
Lights would flicker on and off in the bedroom until you said stop it, and then it would stop. But the problem is, it means you had to engage with it.
Right.
And I didn't
Bedtime.
want to
Yeah.
engage.
Yeah, you're not supposed to
I
engage.
feel creepy. Yeah.
No, engaging is not good, but it was like, if you want me to quit, you got to ask. You got to ask nice.
My house is not haunted that I know of. I'm pretty sure it is not haunted. But I love watching horror movies. It's all I watch are horror movies. And
Really?
so I'm terrified of everything because I watch horror movies. I'm like, I've seen horror movies. I know how this ends. And so like in our house, like in our basement, we have this like big long hallway at the back of the house. There's no windows there and stuff like that. And so,
Basements are terrifying.
well, yeah, like at night, I'm like, I got to go down and make sure all the lights are out. And it's like this big long hallway. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for the one day when I look down the hallway and there's like a little tiny girl at the end of it. I'm like, ugh!
Oh, I have an attic, okay? And
Ooh, attics can be scary too.
it's a scary attic. It's the only place in the house where I feel like there might be something. I kind of hate
Yeah.
to admit it. I'm not talking to you,
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I went up there one afternoon and went back, and the doorknob had fallen off of the door.
oh,
There's a door up into the attic,
yeah.
and I couldn't get the door open. And my dog was
Like
on the other.
occupied.
Oh, it's terrifying. I mean, the doorknob just falls off. How does that happen? Only to me. So my dog's on the other side of the door, and I'm just like, no, let me out. And she's like, I'm trying.
Right.
I can't get the door open either.
Ah,
So I was gonna crawl out the little there's a little turret window onto the roof, and I thought, yeah, but you will totally fall.
that is so
And then
epic. Like I've seen that's exactly what happens in the horror movies. Do you have
I
like a big,
know, I know, I write this stuff. I don't want to live it.
do you have
And
like a fence
then
with pikes on it?
yes,
Stay,
and
stay off, stay,
and when he
stay in the
opens
house.
it out, but then I got a clue, and I thought, there's a toolbox up here. So I went and got a tool, and it was actually quite easy. You just took a screwdriver and moved the little thing over the side, and the doorknob. The door went open. I'm like, oh, good thing I didn't go out on the roof. Okay.
Yeah, I don't need to risk my
Good thing I
life
just
for this.
opened the toolbox and, kind of used my brain and stuff. I'm very claustrophobic, so it panicked me.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be freaked out about that too. I'd be freaked
Well,
out.
if you go to the door and the doorknob falls off, I mean, it just feels personal.
Yeah. Like, dude, why'd you do that for me? I gotta fix that now. Man.
Out of here.
I
Yeah.
just had an idea for a thriller novel, book where all the story where all these things happen to our protagonist, and just all these unexplainable things, and the twist ending is it turns out that all of it's explainable. It was just bad luck.
No,
It's just bad craftsmanship.
No, because the ending has to people have to go, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to work harder on that one. You
The
had me.
handyman
okay.
was a ghost all the time.
Do you remember Dallas from millions of years
Oh, yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
And they had the season.
Yep.
and
Who
the
killed
season
JR?
Yeah.
No, the one where Bobby died.
Oh
And they had
yeah,
all this
it was
cool
the
stuff,
dream.
and then it was like next one. It was like she's taking a shower and he walks in. It was all a dream, and I was so mad. I never watched it again.
Yeah.
So you cannot have the Bobby didn't die syndrome for your novel
Oh, okay.
because
Bobby
you're just
has to die.
Yeah, it's the Bobby didn't die syndrome. Is just going to disappoint
Yeah.
your readers.
Yeah, Bobby has
Well,
to
what
die.
if you bring him
and
back
stay
just to
dead.
kill him again?
Yeah.
And this time
They
worse.
could just have put him in the witness protection program, and he didn't tell anybody to keep, to keep everybody safe. That they didn't ask me for the plot line, did they?
No.
They'd
Right.
given me a call. I'd have figured it out for him with no trouble.
I love it. So what's the secret to writing horror movies? What's the secret to writing horror novels?
Um,
Or what's a secret?
Well, I'll tell you some of the ones that come to mind. All right,
Yeah.
the first most important thing
Live in a
is that
haunted
you have,
house.
well, that helps.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're living in a haunted house, you're already in. But there needs to be something very mysterious that's new. Okay, no longer can we get away with spooky things, and at the end, it's a ghost. Okay, because you pretty much have to do that on page one and hit the ground running. All right, where are you going with the ghost? Okay, and I think the reason we like horror and scary things is because it's the fascinating unknown question.
Yeah.
So I wrote a novel called based on the dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did a lot of research, and it's shocking how often it happens. And there was in California there was a giant train wreck, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and one of the men on board on the train, his ex-wife, his wife, his children, everybody in his family got constant calls from him, one right after the other, right after the other, and they were on the phone with the emergency rescue people saying, he's there, he's calling, he needs help. Sometimes we can hear his voice. He says he loves us. We've got to find him. You got to find him. And so they figured it out, and he was in the first car, and he was pulverized instantly. He and
Yeah.
his phone. There was nothing left. And
Creepy.
those are recorded conversations. You know,
Yeah.
they had them. And the condo collapse in Florida that happened not too long ago.
Yeah.
Um, there was a family that kept getting phone calls from the landline of their grandparents for hours and hours, and they had, I'm not completely sure, but I think they had died pretty much instantly.
Hmm.
So it definitely happened. So you come up with just this great premise, and
Yeah.
then you run with it, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Creepy.
There was a either a Twilight Zone or an old Outer Limits or something like that
I remember the outer limits.
where that happened, where the person was getting phone calls from this person they knew was dead,
Mm-hmm.
and all, and in the end it turned out that the telephone line had fallen, and the open end of the telephone line, the hot end, was resting on top of her grave.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah.
That's so outer limits.
Yeah.
That show used to terrify me. I loved every minute of
It's like those. It's like the cans that you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Just except,
it.
get me out of here. You owe me money. No, that's cool. That'd be creepy. Yeah, your research would be creepy. Would creep you out, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, it did creep me out quite a bit, and
Yeah.
sometimes I have to stop and go back to it later. Um, and if and you know, the worst thing is if you're writing something scary or
Yeah, and then your
you're
dog
writing something
comes.
creepy,
Yeah.
and she'll be right beside me, deep asleep, and then if she jumps up and looks over my shoulder and starts growling, I'm like, no, no, there's something there. It yeah. It's quite terrifying. But on the other hand, having a really big dog with you when that happened is a good thing.
That's awesome. Yep. Nice. Nice.
So, Brad, what kind of books do you write?
I write science fiction, so
Okay.
no creepy research for me. I
You
get
know,
to what do
what
I
kind
do?
of science research?
Yeah, that's so my research would be a lot of sciencey kind of research.
Hmm.
So with one of the books, with my most recent book, Deutero, I did a lot of research trying to create, so my original background is in the sciences. I have a biochemistry degree, and so I wanted to create a world where there was, like the colony was at risk of collapsing, and I wanted to actually ground the reasons for that in biochemistry, in science, like come up with like real reasons, like real scientific reasons why the colony had to grow its own food and it couldn't use the indigenous food on the planet and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of my research is like that. Trying to I often think, I don't know about your research. I often feel like the research that I end up having to do would put me on like a bunch of watch lists, because it's like how do you destroy a city, and it's,
You
so
need to go through DuckDuckGo, okay, for your
yeah,
for your
exactly. Like how do you create a plague that would wipe out 90%? It's like, oh, that guy's on the list. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, I'm writing a thriller right now, and I'm keying in blowing up the Mount Blanc tunnel. Now maybe I better rework.
yeah. How do you murder your husband and get away with it? Like, fuck. Okay, damn it. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah. So I'm on a list for that. I feel like a lot of writers must be on a lot of lists someplace.
We're on a lot of lists. We're on a
And it's
lot.
amazing what you can find on Google. Like you can find answers to all those questions on Google. Like it's ridiculous. Like
Google is such a gift
this
for
doesn't seem
novelists.
responsible.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So your biochemistry, do you have any thoughts, or I've been researching right now for my next novel, biocentrism. Are you,
Fine.
yeah?
My,
Are you,
so my biochemistry knowledge is old now. I worked in
okay.
the yeah I worked in well, you know what, it's probably been about 10 or 15 years since I worked in the industry. Tell me a little bit what's throw some questions at me. We'll see if I don't know the answer. I'll let you know. Or
Well, basically the premise is that things were not here that created life. It's life that created everything else. So it
okay.
totally flips it
Oh
around.
yeah, yeah. So would it be like and just to see if I kind of understand the idea correctly, it would
Mhm.
be like like you'll have stories that kind of have this premise that reality is our imagination, right? Like so living things like we imagine reality, and then it kind of actually takes hold and stuff like that. Is that kind of the idea?
You can go with that, but a lot of it is so here's my theory, okay?
Yeah.
Supernatural events and all of the things that we write about in your science fiction, you know, we're not science is going to catch up with us.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? Because now you have the physics people saying and the quantum mechanics people who admit they don't really understand quantum mechanics, which is good because I don't either.
Yeah.
Um, energy cannot be destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Which means there's no death. You can be in one form or another, but your energy's always there.
It's just
And
transformations.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And everything, all energy interacts, right?
Yep.
That fascinates me,
Yeah.
right? Because
Robert Lanza
Robert
is
Lanza.
the guy who yeah, he's yeah, I'm looking, I'm googling, well, I'm not googling, I'm duck going, um but
smart,
Robert
smart choice.
Lanza, he proposed the
Yes,
theory in
Robert Lanza. I thought
2007,
yes.
that the central driving science in the universe and an understanding of biology as the central driving science in the universe. Okay, and that the universe is created by the life. So we
That's
create
us.
what we
Yeah,
need.
that's the idea, eh? Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's the idea. That's
Yeah.
the idea.
At the end
It
of the
would
day,
explain a lot.
who
I love
knows,
it.
right? These are all awesome questions, and it's like the old saying, like either the universe came from nothing, or the universe doesn't have a beginning, and each one of those things is like totally mind blowing
Yep.
and weird, right? Like,
Right, but then if you look at biocentrums, that answers a lot of the big
well,
questions that
but then either life came from nothing and then imagined the universe, or there was always life and there was always the universe, and like either way, you're like, well, that's yeah, it's
hmm
either way is kind of
and that's
beyond our ability to kind of wrap our little minds around, and
yeah, but I just to me it leads to, where do dark things come from? Well, that
yeah,
energy's there. It's
yeah,
out there in some form or another. So
yep,
I'm having a lot of fun with that for the book after the one that
yeah.
I will
No,
start as soon as this one is done. I'm
yeah.
sure that was easy to
You
follow.
can have a lot of fun with those ideas there.
Mhm.
Exactly, like people's own, like your own weakness is what kind of creates the monster that kind of comes out. You could have some really great
True. That's a good
character arcs.
point.
Yeah,
Um, it's kind of like the law of attraction in a dark way,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
always the way I'm going to write it. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point.
yeah. No, lots of yeah. Universe is strange.
Universe is strange.
It's certainly in my world.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you have to have if you have light, you're going to have some dark because you're going to have shadows
Yeah, it's the
whenever
yin
you
and
have
the
light.
yang, it's the balance, right?
yep,
I think
yep.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So,
No,
so
that's awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Let's see. So, wow. Sorry, I'm reading some of this biocentrism stuff. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, you're getting
Now
into
I'm
it, you
getting
mean?
into it. Yeah, but
It's
it's
pretty
bringing up Rene
intriguing.
Descartes. I'm just
Pretty
kind of scanning. It's bringing up Descartes, and Kant, and Leibniz,
Yeah,
and a
and
bunch
and,
of other
and
people.
you yeah, you were asking me about my research. A lot of my research is hard
Yeah.
science, neurology, the
yeah,
brain. I love reading like memoirs by neurosurgeons, um, especially the ones that are honest,
yeah,
and they come with a lot of interesting observations about what happens when people die and what state they're in, and yeah, the hard science can lead you to some really spooky places, which is great fun for a
yeah.
novelist.
And I always think, like, so we people, we have limited senses. You know, when you look at all the electromagnetic spectrum, like our eyes can only see like this tiny, tiny sliver of it, and like we can only hear stuff that's carried on on the air, and we can only touch stuff that's within arm's length and stuff like that. And that's all we have to understand the universe, right? Is just these like really, really finite and limited senses, which you know, as we do more and more research and we understand more and more about the universe, we come to this realization that these senses that we have are wholly inadequate to like grasp, like like they're senses that kind of create models in our brain that allow us to function, but they don't necessarily like they're not sophisticated enough to really touch reality and see it and understand it and know what it is, right? Like we can
Yes.
create these shallow models of reality that allow us to like function and get food and do whatever. But to actually see reality, we just don't have the senses for it. And like, what else is out there that just we don't even have a sense to even know it's a thing to even ask about, right?
No, I think that's brilliant. I think that's true. I've been thinking about that a lot because,
Yeah.
I was, as usual, reading up on, near death
Yeah.
experiences, and they're pretty well proven. And what kills me is some of the doctors or the science viewpoint is no, it can't. The brain is this, the brain is that. And I'm thinking the brain is the tool of your body,
Mhm.
and it keeps you on this narrow corridor with all so much of the real world filtered out, right? Which is exactly what you were saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you just look at my dog. She knows, she sees and hears and smells and knows so many more things that I'm aware of. So I always get cracked up when I read things. Oh, are dogs intelligent? Do dogs have emotions? I'm like, it's my opinion that dogs are so far ahead of
Yeah.
us.
My dog's smarter than me.
Well,
Yeah,
there
well,
are
yeah,
some
she's
things
like
the
a step
dog doesn't
ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
understand. My dogs don't understand that the neighbor's dog is barking at things they can't see. And so
Yeah.
they assume that because the neighbor's dog is barking, that there must be something worth barking at our front door. And so they'll hear the neighbor dog barking, and they'll run barking to the front door, but there's nothing there. So they get to the front door, they're bark, bark.
My question to you is, how do you know there's nothing there?
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay.
I don't know that there's nothing there, but I know what the neighbor's dog is barking at is not by our front door, because the neighbor dog looks over the parking lot, and our front door looks over the courtyard. So they're looking in completely different directions.
So
It's about the story of the cave and the shadows.
our dog, our dog. So we used to have this neighbor dog. This neighbor's dog passed away a couple of years ago. But
Oh.
neighbor used to have this dog, and whenever this neighbor's dog would walk in front of the house, like our dog would just freak out. Like our dog would just bark and just go to town on And it was funny whenever they were like face to face, my dog would be like shy. But from a distance, my dog's real tough, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever the dog walked in front of our house, our dog would freak out and bark, and it would be things like we'd be in the living room in the back room where we wouldn't see the front of the house, and like we'd all just be sitting there chilling out reading books. Dog would be curled up, and all of a sudden she'd just like bonk, and then run to the front and start barking. We're like, what the hell's going on there? And it's like, yeah, there's the dog walking in front of the house. I'm like, how the hell did you know that? Because like there's no windows here, and it's just like
Right,
I don't know.
they do know that.
Yeah, somehow she just like, oh, the
Sense of
dog's here.
smell
It's like,
and great hearing.
Well, every time I think it's nothing, it turns out it was totally something.
Yeah.
So now when Leah gives me an alert, I'm like, I gotta go figure it out. We had a bad accident in front of my house, and the driver was, the police were after him. So he was hiding in the bushes outside of my office window.
yeah.
And Leah was going nuts, but there were police, there were helicopters, there were tracking dogs. I'm like, yes, yes, it's all going on. Calm down, calm down. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. There's a man hiding in the bushes outside my office window. Good dog, very good girl.
Yeah.
She knew, she knew.
Dogs are
Yeah,
awesome.
I watch a lot of there's a YouTube channel I like watching. They have a lot of really neat facts on pets. It's called Jaw Dropping. jaw-dropping facts?
Okay.
Something like that. It's jaw-dropping something, but they're little animations. It's like this is what this is what your dog really is thinking, and this is what studies are showing about what your dog really thinking, and how they figure these things out, and all. And it's like that. Dogs aren't colorblind; they just can't see reds, and it's really that they can't see red colors.
Right.
They see, but I think it's red is the color they can't see. But they see other colors, like they see blues and greens and yellows and that kind of stuff. And so the image difference between what we see in reality and the same image color corrected for a dog sensitive view is colorful, but it's just different. It's
Different
like
kind
an
of colors.
alien. It's like an alien kind of landscape. But
Yeah.
and of course they hear things and have senses that are well more developed than ours.
Oh yeah.
And
I think that's probably part of what like dogs and people have a partnership, right? And they have had a partnership throughout so much of human history, right? They had this partnership, and I think it's because each partner brings something slightly different to the game, right? Like we're both after the same thing, whatever it is, protection or food or whatever and stuff like that.
Make the fire and all guard the cave. But what cracks me up is that all the humor and filter was that, well, we domesticated the dogs and invited them in. I imagine it was the other way around. The dogs were like, yeah, okay.
There's a negotiated settlement.
I think that we will. Yeah, everything I do with my dog is a negotiation. She's like, okay, I know what you want. Now what's in it for me?
Where's my treats?
Yes. Will there be a treat? Will there be a walk? Come on, up your game a little bit. Yeah, it's always a negotiation.
Yeah.
I think that it's very possible that, we were domesticated by dogs.
Yeah.
Well, we were definitely domesticated by cats because we had nothing to do with that.
That was all them.
That was all them.
They're like, I need somebody to rub my belly, and nobody's doing that. Those guys got fingers and thumbs. Let's
try that.
Let's bring those guys to heel. Yeah, rub my belly. Oh, that's awesome. And like it kind of comes down to okay, so yeah, we each do have these limited senses, but these different species see a slightly different slice of the pie, and if you actually you can get these working relationships, you can be more effective than you might be able to be just by yourself, right? Because you can together with these if you can sort of figure out how to work together with these different species and these you sort of see more, and I don't know.
Well, here's the thought.
No, that's why.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's why when I'm writing something scary late at night and she wakes up from a deep sleep and she's growling at something over my shoulder,
You're like,
I know there's something over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna go, oh, that's just her being silly. I'm like, oh no.
Crap.
Get rid of it. Yeah, basically.
He's behind me, isn't he?
Run it off. Run it off. And she does.
Yeah. But cool. I was going to say that it's not just between the different realities that we see, or the way we see reality between humans and other animals like dogs and cats. It's also between other humans, other people. Our realities are slightly different. Some people's realities are very different. I first had that realization back, back in the 90s. I thought I was going to be an actor for a while. And so I was in a play out in Hollywood, and we were taking a break from rehearsals, and we went to have lunch at this little sidewalk cafe, and it was a big street. But in the middle of the street was a wide grassy median with trees and just room to sit down and all that kind of stuff. And there was a man standing there barking at the passing cars. And he wasn't bothering anybody other than that. And I noticed after a while he stopped. It's like I realized that the noise had stopped. And I looked over, and he had sat down by one of the trees, pulled out a little satchel, and he pulled out some food and ate. And then when he was done eating, he folded everything back up, stood back up, went back to his spot, and started barking at cars again. And it occurred to me that to this man, this was a perfectly natural thing to do. Somewhere in his mind, this was normal life. And I realized then that his view of reality was skewed compared to mine. It was different, and that's true of everybody. That most people our realities overlap a lot, and there may be a little thing here, or a little thing there that we see completely differently. But for most people, it's about the same. And but for some people, you get just further and further out from their view of reality, and you have to realize that to them, it's perfectly natural to do this. This makes sense to me, and you have to kind of respect that a little bit.
Yeah.
I was doing some research on schizophrenia and different ways of treating it and dealing with it. And I love this method where, the people that have it are not taking medications, which because they don't want to take the medications, it's their choice. And they're just taught methods of dealing with their alternate reality. Okay, yes, I hear voices. I also function this way. And I don't let that cause me anxiety. I just deal with my reality in the midst of everybody else's. I know that's a simplification, but I love the autonomy that it gives them and the skill set that they develop to navigate it, which I think is a very brilliant, compassionate approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medication's
So
not for everybody.
So building on that, so building on those ideas, so just so that I started off in, just so that you know, I started off in biochemistry. I shifted to the dark side, got my MBA, got into business. I'm a business.
That
I'm a
is the
business.
dark
I
side.
know, right? I'm a business prof now, and I got my doctorate in business administration. And my research was on organizational wisdom, which is another thing nobody believes exists. But I did my research on organizational wisdom. And one component of that looks at rationality, looks at like how do we understand the world, how do we make sense of the world. And some things that came out of that research that I learned from that is that so when you look at rationality, like what is it? It's like how do we understand the world? How do we justify our decisions to others? How do we make decisions ourselves, right? And when you use the word rationality, we have in the West, and like in Western cultures, we have this vision of what rationality means. We think it means like it's truth, it's objective, and blah, blah, blah. We're going to do the scientific method and stuff like that. But when you sort of broaden the definition to say, how do we make decisions? How do we justify our actions? It goes like humans, I think most people would recognize, are much more complicated than that. And there's these frameworks that look at there's different types of rationality. So there's what we call disembedded rationality, which is this belief that the truth is separate from ourselves and we can understand that truth. It's disembedded from us. It's separate from us and we can understand it through using things like the scientific method or using economic rationality to do cost benefit, right? It's sort of like the truth is out there and we can use tools to understand what it is. Then there's other types of rationality where we try to understand the world, which are maybe embedded in a social context, right? So in some societies, if you have a certain belief system, then the rational thing to do in that society is somehow consistent with that belief system. If you believe witches exist, then the rational thing to do is to find them and whatever, burn them at the stake or whatever, right? If that's the cultural belief that you have. And then there's embodied rationality, like our own visceral experience, what we can touch, what we know, what we feel. And all these things create the sense of reality and stuff like that. Now, one of the things when you sort of dig into it, you find, which kind of comes a lot to some things that you were talking about, Bill, is when you look at education, when you look at how we educate people, especially at higher educations, different disciplines focus on different forms of rationality. Like scientific disciplines focus on what we call technocratic rationality, the scientific method. Business disciplines focus on economic rationality, like how do we do cost benefit analyses to choose what's going on there. And what happens from that, and this is part of the reason why I think sometimes we have so much trouble working together, is because when you've spent your whole life, when you've spent years of study learning this way of thinking, so when you learn a way of thinking, what that does is it teaches you these are the problems that are important, and this is how you focus on them. So scientific people, these are the sets of problems. We want to understand the universe. This is how we solve them, the scientific method. You put those people in the same room with business people. Business people are like, these are the set of problems. How do we maximize productivity? These are the tools we use to do it, ROI calculations, right? When you put those two people in the room and ask them to work together, they've been trained to see different problems in the world and to use different tools to solve those problems. And then when they're having these conversations with these other people who don't seem to see the same problem at all, and they're talking gobbledygook, you're like, well, that guy's an idiot. I don't know how that guy got, to be so educated, right? But it's that we've been trained, there's, and it kind of speaks to your point, Bill, like we see different pieces of the reality is too big for any one of us, and we each see a certain slice of that, and that's embedded in our education system as well. Like this discipline is going to be trained to see this slice of reality, and that's it. This discipline is going to be trained to see this slice of reality, and we hope if we can figure out how to get these people to play nice together, we can solve great problems together. And if they don't play nice together, then we just, I don't know, we shout at each other and call each other idiots.
A fish isn't an idiot because it can't climb a tree.
Exactly it. So yeah, I think you're onto something. There you go. That's my rant. Not a rant.
Hey,
That's
no,
my
it's
lecture
good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna enjoy a little coffee.
So Lynn, tell
Yeah.
me what you think of this. This goes way back to like a conversation that we're having like a lot earlier about the afterlife and stuff like that and reincarnation. And so this is just something I've been playing with in my mind, and I haven't really said it out loud and stuff like that before. So tell me, so let's have a conversation about it. All right. So from when you look at from the scientific astronomy background, so our world, our sun, and our life, like living things on this world, we're created out of heavy elements like iron and carbon and stuff like that, and these elements only form in like giant stars, and so the current view of sort of the history of the universe that brought humans to exist on this planet is that in the very beginning there are these grand primordial stars. They all went supernova and blasted their heavy elements all across the skies, the heavens. They coalesced into our sun and our earth and stuff like that, and then we exist, and then we came into existence. And so in a way, we talk about things like reincarnation, how energy can't be created or destroyed, it's just transformed, right? And so when you look at sort of this grand scope of universal history, these stars lived and they died, and then they got reincarnated as us, as living things, as living sentient things. And it kind of makes you wonder, okay, so if stars, when they died, they became us, what will we become when we die? Like, what's the next thing? Like, we're probably not the end of the line. Like, there's probably maybe an evolution that we're all kind of moving towards, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it maybe is flipped the other way, that,
Mhm.
everything, there was all this material and then we came from that.
Mhm.
I would think maybe we were here and we took what was available
Yeah, neat. Yeah.
in the world, which
Yeah.
means, the theory that, well, only so many kinds of planets can support life because it has to be what we think it is. If
Yeah.
life is already there, taking the elements of whatever planets are handy,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
then we're looking at it backward, and we're shutting the door to a lot of possibilities. And I think that is the common science reality, right? That shuts everything down and takes the fun out of everything.
Yeah, with science, they're always it's not that science shuts things down. It's that science only like they only talk about they only concern themselves with things that can be proved, you know, and stuff like that. So speculation, like if it can't be proved, then it's not in the realm, or it's not. You know, if you talk to a
if it can't
scientist,
be
like, hey,
measured,
this and
it
that,
can't be talked about.
yeah, kind of thing,
Well,
right? Which is
it's not that it can't be proved. It's just that they can't prove
it
it.
hasn't been proved yet. Yeah.
It hasn't been proven
Yeah.
within certain parameters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I always think everything is often completely switched around. Than you know. So you take religion or spirituality, right? And one of the things I was studying was neurotheology. All right.
Well, oh, that's cool.
It's very
Neurotheology, I
cool.
love it.
It's and the brain is wired for I don't want to say religion, for spirituality. Okay.
No,
Um
it seems to be.
all, it's all over the brain. It's not like one little section. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I find really interesting. And I think that your true spirituality comes from within you, okay, rather than without. And everybody is always searching outside for,
I know.
I know what is it? What does this religion work for me? No, not right. Does this one? No, not right. And then it's like, but my thinking is, well, why no, not right? Because something inside you
Yeah.
knows, and you're kind of remembering it as you live your life. So I actually think it's within rather than without.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that as well. Like I think I agree with you, and I can totally acknowledge that there's probably a lot of religious people that might not agree with you or might not agree with us. But yeah, I think a lot of it is like, I think, yeah, true spirituality is within you, right? And that's, you know,
Right. And it does,
if
and if it's within you and it doesn't go through all the filters of people's
yeah.
opinions and fears and prejudices. And if it comes from within you, viscerally, like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
what rings true, what feels right.
Yeah. And you know, I always kind of interpret spirituality as this this sense that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, right? Like there's something grander than ourselves, and we're a part of that. I was kind of That's kind of how I've always thought of spirituality, and yeah,
Yeah.
um, like you kind of have to, yeah, sort of,
But that's something
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And you don't have, nobody has to prove it to you,
right,
right?
yeah,
Because you know it.
yeah,
And that is what really fascinates me is, the older I get, the more I trust my intuition.
hmm
I always used to say, oh no, this is bad, but well, I can't just assume it's bad because my intuition says it. I have to have it
yeah,
proven to me. So after having it proven to me one time too many, I'm like, I think we'll just take the shortcut and go
yeah,
right with the intuition. Okay. And now they're talking about the gut brain and how that,
yep,
so I think it's now they say, oh yeah, well actually this might be real. Well, thank you, scientists. I figured you'd catch up
yeah,
sooner or
yeah,
later.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
They got to go through the whole slow process of proving it, and that just takes time. And that it also kind of speaks like, again, like there's multiple different ways of understanding the world, and like
Yes.
science totally does some things amazing, but your
They-
gut also does things that are amazing, and it's
And
not
so
that
I should
one's.
have equal time at least. And I also think I have a lot of friends who are great friends, but they completely disagree with the way I look at things. Now I've got, well, of course,
Those are the best friends, eh?
yeah. But do you know what I see in them consistently?
Mm.
Fear.
hmm
They want to be in that lockstep mindset. And anything that doesn't work in that filter, really, they really seem very afraid. I know
Yeah.
that's very judgmental of them, but that's the emotion I get is like, no, that can't be true. It's not proven. It's completely ridiculous. And, it's kind of like, they're so offended. It's like Bigfoot walked into their office and offered them some coffee, and they're like, "No, this is not
Yeah.
happening. Okay, it just can't." Yeah.
I think a lot of that also comes down to people. like we want to feel like we're in control of our lives, and we want to feel like we understand
Good
things, right?
point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Because if we don't, if we feel like we lack control of our lives, if we feel like there's things out there that we don't understand that can harm us, like that, like we can't deal with that, like we can't function, so we create these, like, boom, these models. And it's, when somebody comes in and starts like trying to, and I think some people are more comfortable with sort of ambiguity and the, how the what if, than
Hmm.
other people. And if you're not comfortable, if you're not secure and comfortable enough with the what if, then that like you sort of you cling on to this, okay, I've create there's this vision of reality and it's true, and like, oh, like,
Right,
stop trying to
right,
wreck it, you're wrong, right?
right. And I'm all for people following their own belief system and their own methods, but what makes me crazy is oh, that hasn't been proven. It cannot be real. You're just, blah, 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 blah. And why so critical? Why so narrow? Why not be
Why
open? You don't have to
so
believe it.
spiritus?
Why so? Yeah. No, I know. And I think a lot of times it's something that I try in my classes with my students is to bring different way, and I'm not alone. I think there's a lot of people with this, is like, how do you bring different ways of knowing into dialogue with each other, right?
Mhm.
And so part of that is being able to step back and say, like, maybe I don't know everything, and also sort of respecting this thing that's kind of foreign to you, right? If you've been trained one way, how do you respect this thing that's totally foreign to you, right? And it and right now we're kind of talking, like, spirituality versus science. But I used to work in the biotech industry before I was a teacher, and it was scientists and business. The reason why I keep talking about scientists and business people is because I know that I lived through that, right? Like,
Right.
science. I was a scientist, and we had to work with business people, and we'd be like, those guys don't know. Like we're trying to peel back the layers of understanding of reality, man. Those guys are just bean counters. What do they know? They don't understand what we're doing, right? And then I got my MBA, and I started to work with the business people, and was all like, those scientists don't understand, like, the hard reality of life that we're dealing with here, right? And
Right.
it's sort of being able to step back and recognizing, like, maybe I don't know everything, and maybe they know something I don't know, and maybe we should have a conversation about that and see if we can fill in some of the gaps and come up with a cool idea. I kind of think that's where, like, really innovative out of the box ideas come from, is when you get this dialogue between, like, two different ways of knowing and understanding, and then you can come up with something that nobody's ever seen or thought of or even thought was a thing before, right?
Yeah. And I think what comes up to me, what makes for the coolest story ideas and the coolest novels are when you bring the science and the spirituality
Yeah.
and the physical and the visceral all together.
Yep.
Um, and then you've got this fabulous idea to run with.
Absolutely, right? Or if you can show the limitations of just focusing on one and ignoring the others,
Exactly
right?
right.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, because that's a great, that's a great character arc, or that's a great story arc there, right? Like, you cling too much to one way of knowing, and you're unyielding and stuff like that,
And
and
then
then
you have,
hijinks ensue.
and then it's right there and you can't deny it.
Yeah,
And it totally shakes you to the core.
yeah.
What are you going to do? You
What
still
are you
have
gonna
to
do?
deal with it. Right.
Yeah, double down and believe, or change, or what, right?
Just, I mean, you're under threat. Usually, if you're in one of my novels, you're going to be
Yeah,
under
well, yeah, yeah,
threat.
that's true. It's like, yeah, you got to make the right decision or
I
you're
would
dead.
imagine the same with yours.
Yeah, yeah, oh, exactly, exactly. Make the right decision or die.
Christ. Yeah,
Or
right.
have some steak.
Crisis. Crisis. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stop playing with my reality.
stop playing with my reality. Yeah. Bill, are all your interviews this philosophical? Is this?
No, no, not all of them. Some of them are more practical, but the conversations I've had with DC Glenn from I don't know if you remember the band Tag Team, Whoop There It Is.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
one of them, and but he's gone very motivational speaker, and so it's very much practical reality. It's
Yep.
as opposed to philosophical kind of nonsense. I'm kidding. No, I love getting into these conversations, but yeah, it depends on the mix.
Yep,
Because it's
that's
all
fine.
random. I
Well,
didn't
wouldn't
set this up. Um, the way guest bookings work is guests book themselves on a date or their representatives book them for them on a date that's available that they think works for them,
Roll the
and
dice.
the other person is doing the same, and so sometimes weird things happen. Um,
are
and
we a weird thing?
Or were you?
well,
Yeah.
no, one of the
Do you ever
weird
get
things that
like they
happened.
hate each other
One,
after, or
No, I
just
get that all the
um,
time.
one show I had two Richards.
oh, two Richards?
Yes.
I'm the real Richard. No, you're a
And
dick.
yeah.
You know, but what your motivational speaker uh, and his hardcore reality of
Mhm.
dealing with things in life, it just made me think that when all my research on neurologists and neurosurgeons, you know what the one thing they recommend to their patients the
Mm.
most? Meditation.
Yeah.
Yep, I've heard that.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation. And they but of course you know that the meditation rules are ridiculous, in my opinion. Okay. And in the opinion of my character, which is sit down and think of nothing. Because that's so easy, right?
I do that when I drive.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
I
I sleep
think
when
they
I drive.
I think they tell you the opposite of how to meditate, how
Mhm.
to really do it. Okay. They make it hard, and okay, if you can't clear your mind, then um, think of numbers, look into a flame. Oh, go back and clear your mind. And you know what they are setting you up to do is wrestle with your brain. And I don't see how that helps
No,
anybody, right? So I mean,
no.
How do
I
you
just
meditate?
I feel that
follow the
with
meditation rules.
meditation, you need to have a focal point to
See, I totally disagree with that.
something you can meditate on, as opposed to
How,
meditating on
how,
nothing.
Well,
how do you
okay,
meditate, Lynn?
what?
How do you meditate?
Okay, I here's how I meditate. I sit down and let my mind go anywhere it wants, have any thoughts. I accept all of them. I don't try and direct them. I just let them come and they go all over the place. And what I find is eventually I will get this insight, and I don't know where it comes from. It's like, oh, that's how that works. It's like a little piece of the puzzle that I want. And then I'll start lovely, which I love, is getting scenes in my head for the novel I'm working on. I'm like, oh, that's how that works. It's like, well, it's a good thing I'm meditating because I thought I was never going to figure that out, and I'll get little bits of dialogue and reasons the characters do things and even, technical insights. And so I just think meditation can be a lot more fun and a lot easier than they tell us how to do it. Now, that just could be that, in the world of Lynn, this is how it's done.
The world of Lynn.
In the world of Lynn, but I really, really think that people make it so hard. And I was talking to somebody about that, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's Eastern, that's Tao, that's how we do it." And I'm like,
Okay,
"Oh,
interesting. Yeah.
I just figured that out on my own, and I could have read that book, so maybe not as far off as I thought, but you know, that's what my hero does in the Enlightenment Project. He tries to stimulate the brain to meditate and bring this to people, um, and he brings them wonderful things and very dark things, because naturally it's a Hightower novel.
Because of course there's dark things. Yeah.
Exactly,
What kind of
exactly.
story doesn't have dark things?
Well, one of the neurologists that I was reading said, I see so many people at the end of life, and they have such mysterious, poignant, peaceful experiences. And what if I could stimulate the brain to do that just for everybody? And then he said, but what if it brought dark things? And then when I read that, I'm like,
That's a book.
I've got a novel.
Yeah, boom.
Here's my book. Yeah,
Boom. Premise.
that's where I got it. That's where I got
Yeah,
it.
I love it. So is that kind of where you get your premises from? You just kind of just exploring the world and looking for the cool idea that pops out there?
They just come and get me.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
ideas, they come and get me. I'll be Googling, I'll be working on another novel or something will happen. And I think you probably do this too.
Yeah.
You see things as a novelist and you're like, oh,
That's the
yeah,
story.
right about. Isn't that what you do?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's just and it can be sometimes just you're just wandering around minding your own business and this idea
Mhm.
flips and you're like, oh, that's a cool story. Or you're reading the news and it's just like a line in the news. You're like, oh, unpack
Oh,
that. That's a
whoa.
story.
Yeah, you
You know.
grab it and run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, just like you say, you kind of start to see the world through a novelist's eye. You're just premises everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's cool character.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Well, Brad, you talked earlier about watching horror movies, and it got me to thinking.
Yes.
Would you rather watch a really great movie or a really bad movie? And I don't mean bad by just kind of bad, like I mean truly awful.
A bad movie. Yeah, it's like you don't even need to no qualifiers. I'll watch a bad movie. I love cheesy horror movies. Cheesy bad horror movies. Cheesy bad horror movies. Cheesy bad sci-fi. Cheesy bad fantasy. You betcha, I'm there.
As long as it entertains you, right?
As long as it entertains you, right?
Bad
Exactly.
movies are entertaining, and the great thing about them is that they're all bad. It's not like you're watching a movie that, wow, this is really a great movie. Oh, why did they do that? That's terrible. Oh, okay, the rest of it's bad. The rest of it's okay, but except for this one plot hole or something.
It's almost worse.
Yeah, a great movie isn't all great. There's something wrong with it. But a bad
movie is all bad throughout. So you're like,
it's
all right,
all bad.
I don't mind bad movies. It's boring movies. I don't like, that's probably the thing. Like bad movies are great. Bad movies are great. Boring movies are boring. I don't want to see a boring movie.
I don't want to
That's
see
kind of the
boring movies.
difference.
I don't want that, initial montage of the person's life set to music where they ride a bicycle all over town. Just shoot me now.
Yeah.
I hate
I
that.
don't need to see the origin story.
No, I don't. And I want you to hit the ground running. And I also hate car chase crash scenes. Maybe that's
You and my wife are.
I walk out in the movie if they start that, I wander off. I'll go, is there chocolate for sale somewhere?
I'm like, I'm taking notes. I'm like, how to get to work fast. All right.
Yeah.
That's a gender thing. I actually hate car chases, and I'm thinking, yeah, but it's like Gun Who's Got the Gun from an old Hawaii Five-O episode of the 70s. My feeling is, who cares? But people who enjoy it might be like, yeah, but don't you love seeing those cars get all smashed up? So it doesn't do anything to me, but it might for other people.
The 13-year-old boy in me, he's like, oh, car goes smash.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Gun goes bang. Yeah.
Depends on the car chase.
It's true.
Yeah, Popeye Doyle's car chase in French Connection. The French Connection. That was because it was real.
Yeah.
They do this whole car chase. Turns out they had no permits. They had nothing set up.
No stunt driver.
It's like drive from point A to point B, and we're gonna film it.
A couple of guys with a bottle of whiskey. All right,
Pretty
go.
much, yeah.
Action.
Pretty much. But
and if you're going to make a good movie, like, so if you're just watching a bad movie, action, car chases, stuff like that. Like, if you're going to make a good movie with a car chase, like, the car chase has to have, probably, I would imagine, maybe not Lynn, but if the car chase had stakes, like this was, well, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. This was
there has to be something more than watching the cars race around.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have to layer some plot in there, you're going to have to have some great dialogue and
some kind of suspense.
And also, it just doesn't have to go on for so long.
Yeah.
I'm very impatient. I'm like, okay, all right.
So I'm guessing you did not enjoy the original Speed. Where the entire movie was a bus car chase.
Just car chase. Yeah. Or like Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Like Mad Max Fury Road was like, little 10 minutes of setup, 2 hours. Yeah,
I
with
hate that
shooting.
stuff. I hate that stuff. I'm not going to watch it.
I hear you. Yeah, so you and my wife, you're in the same boat.
I'll go watch
Yeah.
movies with my wife then.
Yeah, she's always like, so my wife, she hates. Is like, oh, we're almost gonna die. We're almost gonna die. We're almost gonna die. I'm like, that's the best part. And she's like, no, that's
No, I'm
so
like,
lame.
die already.
Get out of it or die. Yeah.
Because it's just, to me, it feels just like a device.
Well,
you know?
it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess everything
Yeah,
is a
it is.
device, so I shouldn't be so dismissive. It's just does not appeal to me.
Yeah. Yep. That's all right.
That's
Do you
all right.
do you watch? So do you watch bad movies, Lynn?
Heck yeah, I love
Okay,
bad movies.
so what's your genre of bad movies? What do you watch?
You know, right now I'm watching a French series on Netflix, which is like a French Twin Peaks.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that's
it's called
cool.
the Black Zone. And it was a little slow to start, but you know,
Twin Peaks was out there, man.
I mean, the dog and I are sitting watching it every night, riveted. I don't know why she likes French television, but she's into this one. She's on the couch. Come on, turn it on. And man,
So
I
would
don't
it be
want to
kind of a
spoil it.
horror crime kind of thing?
It's just Twin Peaksy, okay? We've
It's
got
just Twin Peaks.
crimes, but
Yeah.
there's something very dangerous in the forest. We just don't quite know what it is.
Mm.
And it has a connection to the police capitan, and I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen next. Just when you think it's a regular crime thriller, you know, the main character gets shot and killed and dies in the forest, and then
Oh.
mysteriously comes back.
What's it called?
Black Zone
I'm gonna write that down.
on Netflix.
Another show you might like, which I think is on I think it's on Netflix. It's called Dark, and it's a German show. So you gotta cross the border into Germany,
All
and
right, I'll go
it's
into Germany.
again it's like this trippy, mind bending, like what the hell is going on? Kind of a murder mystery, kind of a like the show starts with the suicide. The guy writes a suicide note, kills himself, and you're like, what's going on? So it's 3 seasons. Um, um, really engaging, and it's like one of those shows that it's one of those shows you have to binge watch because there's so much in an episode, and you don't realize what's going on in that episode till like 5 episodes later, and you're like, whoa, that totally recontextualizes everything that happened over there. So you almost kind of have to binge watch it, otherwise you forget, kind of a thing. But it's really rich and intricate.
I like a really engaging premise. There's another French
Those
Netflix.
Europeans.
I know, that France has my heart. But it's got such a great premise. All of these kids and adults died in a bus wreck on a school trip, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then one day they all come home.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
you're like,
And they don't
what?
even know they've been gone so long, and they're incredibly hungry, and they don't remember other than, well, it just happened, didn't it? No, 3 years have passed. Um, and it's they're trying to figure out what happened, and also they're kind of reintegrating back into their families and their lives.
Yeah.
Obviously their little sister took their room,
Yeah.
and
They're like,
it
nobody
utterly
does Instagram
fascinating.
anymore. It's all Snapchat.
Yeah, no, and what I like about it, and what really drives me when I'm watching a movie or a book is they give you the great premise, but they've got to keep feeding you information. Okay, you can't
Yeah.
just play around in the premise and nothing develops.
Yeah, they
It's
gotta
got to
like,
keep moving. It's got to keep moving, and that's what I like. Yeah,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, no, I like it. Those sound cool. Those sound cool.
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
There was another
Rare. It's rare to get really good shows like that. But when you get them, you're like, oh, sweet.
I know, I know.
I wish I could just clear my mind and watch it all over again for the first time.
Yeah,
Watch it again for the first time.
Watch it again for the first time. Yeah.
yeah.
You're banging your head. So, Bill, what kind of cheesy bad movies do you watch? Where are you
Oh
at?
my gosh. Well, of course, you can't go wrong with anything by Ed Wood, as long as it's pre 1970.
That's old school.
Yeah. But
You're going back.
oh yeah, he was a master of the bad movie. What was it? One came up the other day. Have you ever heard of a movie called Deathbed? The bed that eats.
I can I can imagine it.
And then was it one of them? Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Okay.
That one's really bad. It was made by a dentist who made it on a bet that he decided that anybody could make a movie, and so he decided he was going to make a movie, and he probably shouldn't
funny.
have.
You shouldn't have done that.
No.
Stick with pulling teeth.
Yeah. But
A long time ago, I went through like like Hammer horror.
the Hammer
movie
horror.
phase. That's all like 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
kind of that kind of a vintage of
Yeah.
a bad movie, I guess.
Yeah. And
Well, did you see that original Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
a
a
long
good
time
one.
ago, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That was such an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was all about
So-
communism.
Yeah, well, I was too little to worry about
Always about
communism.
communism.
It was those people who you thought
Right.
were your relatives and your friends, but they
Just
were
not.
not.
Yeah.
And there were all the pods in the back of the truck, and then it ends with him going, "Oh, it's all just pods. It's nowhere." It was just like, ah! I loved that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a
Don't-
good one.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No. Well, they
I
do,
found-
and
I
then
found-
they just ruin it.
Yeah. I found like there's still bad movies. Like I like bad movies, but not boring movies. I've found it feels like we've lost the art of making entertaining bad movies. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm watching the wrong stuff. But I kind of feel like I don't know. In the last 5 years and stuff like that, like there's bad movies, but they're like boring kind of bad movies.
Yeah.
Like, they can kind of. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the worst thing you can do is bore your reader or your
Just be
viewer.
boring. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You don't have to be good. Just be.
Just
have
keep them entertained and
just have
yeah,
fun,
I
right?
completely agree with you. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
It's great if
this
you're doing it
generation
well.
needs a bad movie.
Or they'll just kick back and get some popcorn and go, "How bad can this be? Keep
Yeah.
going," you know.
Yeah. There's definitely a difference between a movie that's bad because it's boring or a movie that's bad because it's just awful. You know,
Yeah,
because you can
and
see
usually-
the strings or you can see the mattress that the stunt
Yeah.
person's got to fall onto.
Yeah.
You know?
It's unpolished, but people are having fun,
Mhm.
and they're just like you can see that joy in it, and they're having fun, and you're having fun. Versus like they're like this is a bad, like they know they're making a bad movie, but
Mhm.
we're just here for a good time. Versus they're making a bad movie, but they think they're making the next whatever.
They're pretentious about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that
They're
was
like,
the
"Oh, come on."
beauty.
Little precious.
That was the beauty of Ed Wood's movies. Is
Yeah.
he thought he was Orson Welles. And he thought he was making the greatest movies, and that's why he never did a second take on anything. Well, that and the money thing, but because he never had enough money to do a second take. But I think even if he had the money, he wouldn't have done second takes because everything was perfect, and it wasn't. And
Yeah,
then he got Bela Lugosi to make movies with him, and Bella just put everything. I mean, if you watch Bride of the Monster, you can just Tor is awful. The other actors are awful. Bela Lugosi's giving the performance of a lifetime. And in this awful movie.
You gotta commit. You gotta
You
commit.
gotta commit.
I think great things come from practicality, like we can't afford more than one take.
Right.
And then I think almost think
Yeah.
that's where you get great movies.
Yeah.
Just keep on going, man.
No matter what, don't stop.
Sometimes it's fun to just like when you're writing or creating art to like put a constraint on yourself so that you have to kind of like, oh, I got to get really creative about this to bust myself out of here,
Write
right?
yourself into a corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the it was Grindhouse double feature that Tarantino and
Yep. Was it Planet
Terror?
Planet Terror?
Yeah. Did you ever see Planet
Something
Terror?
else? Yeah.
That movie,
I saw those
that
on the
movie was
cinema.
pretty good. That was
It had a car chase.
yeah,
in
it had a car chase in it. But what I really loved was when they got the plot so convoluted that all they could do was burn the film and come back after everything was resolved.
Pretty much a Tarantino style. Everything just goes and goes and goes, and then people all pull out guns and shoot each other.
Yeah, exactly.
End,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. That's how we solve
That's
that
how we
problem.
solve that problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of one of my more favorite shows. It's a Mr. Robot, which came out a few years ago.
I have not watched it. I missed the first few episodes and put off getting into it because I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be one of those movies I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss something.
Well, yeah. So it's like it's like 5 seasons long. It's one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite TV shows. And it kind of has it's got the little mystery box and it kind of reveals more and more and kind of pulls you along and stuff like that. But I learned something, and this is something that I've tried to incorporate in my writing there. Like when you kind of look back, when I look back and I'm like, what made that show so compelling? Like, why was that show? It was like every episode is like you're always kind of like on the edge of your seat, and like, what did they do? And what they did was this: everything, everything that the main characters tried failed every time. And it's not that they were incompetent. It's just that the bad guys were like so much more in control of everything and had so much more power. So every time the good guys tried to do something, didn't work. So they constantly had to adjust, pivot, try again, didn't work, adjust, pivot, try again, didn't work. And this built up through the whole season till the season finale. They finally had this victory. They finally achieved the thing. But whoa, unintended consequences. Like all of a sudden, we actually achieved the thing, but now there's all these unintended consequences and things go sideways. So like even when it does work, now we're kind of hosed in this new way in season 2, and it's kind of and like the whole series was like that. Like every episode they tried this, didn't work, try it, didn't work, pivot, adapt, pivot, adapt, pivot, adapt. And it was just like, whoa, it was super compelling. And so I tried to do that's something that I tried to do in my writing. Every time I'm like, okay, so how are the characters going to get out of this? And I write it. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. And then I write why it doesn't work. Okay, now what do they do? Okay, now they're going to do this. And that doesn't work. So it's like, I don't know.
No,
I thought that made a really fun series.
What's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, let that happen.
Yeah, let that happen. Yeah.
I love it when they kill a main character. I love it when a series isn't afraid to kill off one of their primary characters.
I hate that. I don't want them to kill the main character.
Real stakes though.
There.
Yeah.
Raise the stakes by torturing me.
But it's so it's got to be a meaningful death, and then
it has to be meaningful.
Well, I mean, I like the way Black Spot handled it. They killed off the main character. They shot her 4 times, rolled her body down the hill into the woods, and then she came back.
Which show is this?
Yes. Black.
What show is that?
Blackstone, the one I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's how you handle it.
And then she came back, and that was creepy. Everybody was like, "This isn't
right." Very mysterious.
Yeah.
And even the people in the town are kind of like, she's like, "Look, I just healed," and they're like, "Yeah, whatever you say." Sure.
Witch, burger at the stake.
Yeah. Yeah. I like. What I don't like either kill your characters or don't. What I don't like is kind of like the Marvel movies, like you kill your character, but they're actually alive and stuff like that, or like the Star Wars, like Chewbacca's dead, but no, that was in the ship he was on. Psych, and it's like come on,
yeah.
Like if you're gonna do it, like do it, do it or don't do it, right? But don't play.
Hey, they really killed Han Solo, so. They
really killed him. Exactly.
They stabbed him through the chest, and then they blew up the entire planet he was on. He was dead. He was really dead.
That guy is gone.
You can't come back from that one.
Yeah, how do you know he's dead? Well, I stabbed him, threw him off a bridge, blew up the planet. That's how I know he's dead.
Yeah, but I just think that means the writers are bored. The viewers still want him there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is true. I think with I think Harrison Ford was like, I don't want to do any more of these. It's like, write me off. It's like, okay. Yeah. That's the other thing. How do we know he's really dead? Tore up the contract. That contract.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a
We
good
paid
point.
off the contract. That's how we know it's dead.
Or replace him.
Or
Oh, everybody's
Mm.
horrified.
Oh, yeah.
you can't do that with
Yeah, they
CGI.
can.
Replace him with CGI.
Yeah,
No,
there you
new
go.
actor.
Well,
New actor.
did you hear
Somebody young and good looking.
No charismatic.
James Earl
Yeah.
Jones sold the rights to his voice to Star Wars, to Disney.
That's
Right.
pretty crazy.
So they can do.
Oh,
They can.
I don't know if I could even stand the idea of that, but I guess
know,
the
right?
money was good.
Yeah.
They can make Darth Vader forever now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it's brand new age we live in.
And I'm guessing
I
they
don't
paid him a
like
bucket
it.
of money for it too.
They probably
Sure.
did. That was
Sure.
a pretty sweet payday, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Oh man. Like, how do I get a gig like that?
I know.
I don't know. You got a good voice. Put it up for sale.
Yeah. My
Voice
voice.
for sale.
Yeah. Start the bidding at $20.
$21.
$21. All right. Do I got 22? I'd
Yep.
like to buy a coffee.
Just it just could be a new Amazon thing. Amazon voice sales.
Amazon Voice. They already got our voices, probably.
Amazon
They already got it.
voice. Yes.
They got like little simulacrums of us in their computer system already. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, you do enough podcasts, and we can make you say anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just throw it all together. Get AI to do it.
Yep.
It's a horrifying thought.
It is. It is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
You know, because
we talked
when
earlier
there's no
about technology being the cause of so many problems, but we didn't even mention about the fact that it can steal our lives away.
yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
terrifying. And during the pandemic, when for good reasons there were no humans there, I mean, I stayed in a hotel, and it was so creepy.
I bet.
It's empty. There's nobody behind the desk. There's like you're supposed to just know how to check in.
Mhm.
It's
And
like,
then-
it's like that show Omega Man. You're like, where?
Yeah, but or it's like, but I walk out a door that locks behind me. I'm in a courtyard that's got fences 8 feet, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just got trapped in here, and there's no way out, and there's nobody
I've
that
seen
can come
movies.
get
I know
me,
how this ends.
and there aren't humans around. Oh, thank God I've got a cell phone, but it was super creepy. It
Yeah.
was really super creepy because you've got this hotel, you can figure it out, but you're on your own.
On your own. You're the only one here.
Yeah. And when they have things like doors that open and shut and lock, or like stairwells are my
Yeah.
nightmare. You go in the stairwell and you go up, and the doors are locked. You go back down, and the doors are locked, and there you are, stuck in the stairwell.
You're always welcome, but you can never
Yeah.
leave. Hotel California. Was that Hotel California?
Yeah, Hotel
Was
California. You
It
can
might
check
as
out
well have
anytime
been.
you like, but you can never leave.
Yeah, that was going through my mind. I got to tell
Yeah.
you.
So COVID happened. We all had, the world ended. We all had to go work remotely and stuff like that. And so and then just in the last year, so for us up here, I teach at a university campus. I think it was just spring, January was the first time we're having in-person classes again. And so I go to my office, and it's like the first time I've been to my office in like 2 years, 3 years, because it shut down fast. Like for us, like it was like Monday, we're like, maybe we shouldn't ask for doctor's notes anymore. And then like Friday, we're like, shut this mother down, we're going home. And then so 2 years later, I come and I go to my office, and my office was like exactly how it's like. There's my cup of coffee on there. It's like you go into like those horror movies where you come across the outpost that's abandoned, and like the dishes are still on the table with a half thing of coffee. You're like, what happened here? It's exactly what my office is like. Like, this is so creepy. Like,
Oh, you got to
like
put that scene like that in a book. Yeah, it's just too creepy.
it's like a time capsule. It's like, oh, I'm gonna finish my coffee now. Where was I?
Yeah. Pick up your coffee right where you left off.
Yeah, okay. I had this big pile of papers that I hadn't marked that were 2 years old. So I was like, okay.
Sounds like
Yeah.
you're a little
What did you do?
behind.
Yeah. So what did we do? Yeah, so when we did that big shift, we kind of had to do a like, well, okay, yeah,
Everybody gets an A.
everyone, yeah, we kind of so we give a bunch of we kind of wung it. You give exemptions for some things. For that semester, instead of having like the traditional A, B, C, D, we gave students the choice. They could either get the A, B, C, or D, or F, or they could have like a pass fail. So so if
I
you're like
can
an A,
choose my grade. You know, I'm going to choose an A.
well, it depends. So what people, we give people the choice. So like if you were an A student, but then because the world collapsed, you've dropped down and you got a C, you're like, that's going to kill my GPA. Well, we give you the option. You could just choose the pass fail, which is kind of GPA neutral.
Mhm.
So we gave people so we did that. We gave people the choice, and it was things like, okay, so we're going to give this week it was a write off. Anything that's due this week, I'll just give you an exemption for, and we'll, you know, try to cobble something together for the last week of class. Here's an exam or something like that. Like that was it was a lot of I don't know, like wound management. Like let's just carry the ball over the goal line and get out of here. Like this
Yeah, but
this
it
is
kind of
kind of
like kicks the walls down. So
yeah
kind of hard to go back to the rules. Like, well, I don't know.
yeah
I like the
exactly.
exemption you gave me last time. Let's go back to that.
Well, that's what that's what happened the next semester. They're like,
Really?
hey, can we get exemptions? Hey, can we get pass fail? I was like, no, like this is our new. No, we gotta no,
Back to the old life.
back to the old days. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the whole work situation. Everybody got used to working from home, and now nobody wants to go back to the office. But
What?
if all these firings are going to happen like they're saying they're going to, you better go back to the office. Otherwise, they're going to fire you because they
I
don't know
know.
you.
Right?
I,
Yeah.
I like I like that people got a different perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Started thinking in terms of I choose my life. I yes to this, no to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think you know everybody was in lockstep and didn't have time to stop and think. Maybe I don't want to live this way. Maybe I want to live another way. Of course, I'm a novelist. I work at home, so I
Yeah.
think it's kind of like I already had the pandemic skill set. This was my normal life anyway.
You're like, what's
I stay at
what's
home
going
and
on?
work. I ramble around with the dog. That's pretty much it. So there
Yeah.
are very few changes in my life.
You're like, wow, traffic on the grocery store is really
I
cleared
know
up.
that was so weird because I live downtown. The traffic is usually horrible, and then
Oh.
I'm like, it's so quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so empty.
Yeah.
It's
This is
lovely.
yeah.
Yeah. And now the traffic's picking up, and I'm like, man,
All right.
Yeah.
yuck.
Too many people.
Too many people. Yeah,
Yeah.
too
Too
many
many
people.
people.
Yeah, that was like we used to have horrible parking at our campus, and then COVID happened, and now parking's great. It's even now that we've gone back in campus, because we've gone back to campus, but we still have this big blend of like online versus in-person courses.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's still parking's still pretty good on campus because not everyone's
I,
coming in, right?
yeah, I like that people get a choice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I agree. I think if it would be wonderful if we could learn and take with us, like, because I think we've gained tools that give us a lot more flexibility in a lot of things that we didn't have necessarily, or we weren't comfortable with, or whatever. We just weren't using before the pandemic, right?
Hmm.
Like work from home, working, we can be a little bit more thoughtful about when do we come together versus not and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and just a little more aware of how certain things affect us in our lives, and we might say, I'm just not going back to that.
yeah,
And then, but
commuting
then
for
of
an hour a
course
day.
we have to talk about the discipline, self-discipline.
Yeah.
Working from home, working as an entrepreneur. It's like I'm the only person. Well, my client. If I have a client, then of course they're going to be on top of me for whatever it is. But generally
Mhm.
speaking, I got to be on top of myself.
Yeah.
And all. And as I'm sure you guys as novelists, as
Yeah.
authors, have to as well. How do you
Yeah.
stay on top of yourself to keep the process moving forward?
No. Yeah, I just do it. A lot of it is just building habits, right? So way back when I started work, like I'd be successful at work. I can be successful at school and stuff like that. When I first started work, I was successful at work, but then I wasn't going to the gym. I was gaining weight. I wasn't happy and stuff like that. I'm like, how is it that I can be so motivated and driven at work and then just nothing outside of work? And for me it was like, okay, like at work it's like it's habits. Like on Monday I get up and I do this and I do this, and it's not because I want to, it's because it's Monday and this is what I do and this is my, and so it's like I just created those habits. Like, okay, in the evening I have supper, clean up the dishes, 8 or 9 o'clock, I get in front of my computer and I just start writing. It's not because I want to, it's just because that's what I do and that's the habit, right? So it's kind of just building, for me that's kind of that's how it worked for me, just building in that habit. So it's not
Well, I
a
think
decision.
I think you set yourself up for success, right?
Mhm.
If you try and write or do things at a time when you know you're going to be tired and that you're going to fight it and you're not going to want to do it, I just redirect to, I realize that my brain works best first thing in the morning and I'm fresh and and that's when I want to write. So I'm like, well, duh, that's when
Yeah.
you write, and I think, like you said, if it's a habit, your brain gets trained to this is when I do it, and you just do it naturally, and your brain's ready to go. I think
Yeah.
that's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said, Lynn, about setting yourself up for success with it,
Right.
with the
Yeah.
different things, because that's because there's a traditional way of doing things. You wake up at 6, you get ready to go, you get in the car to head to work at 8, all this, but it's like, yeah, but I was up until 2 in the morning, and and so it's like
Right,
I'm
right.
going to
And
fail to wake up at 6.
if you give yourself, well, like with writers, you can get stuck,
Yeah.
and the way I handle that is I just rebuild my momentum with little tiny, hey, do a page. If you do a page, you're off the hook today. You did good, and pretty soon you get your momentum going again. And right now, I'm finishing a novel and doing the final revisions, and I'm living in a weird time zone, the time zone of Lynn, which is halfway between East Coast and European time. I have no idea, but 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, I'm awake. I want to curl up with these pages in bed and just have some coffee and work.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from, but I just decided, you know, you're the one person, your life is set up where this can work. So I just do it.
That's, so it sounds like we're all night owls.
Oh
Are we
yeah,
all night owls here?
I
Is
think
this?
I'm
so.
not. I'm
Oh no.
not.
Oh,
I'm like that's getting up early in the morning
well,
after I've
that's
slept.
super
So
early
you're a super
morning.
early
That's
That,
morning
yeah,
person.
it's not like I stay up till 3 and then work. No, I go
Mm,
to bed and then
yeah, that's
bing, I wake up at 3. I'm like, okay, I don't know why. And then 3 months from now I might not do it, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
No, I was
It's
even
weird.
born in the middle of the night. I am definitely a night owl. I can, if you want me to be awake at 6 a.m. for something, I will have to stay awake until 6 a.m. to be able to do it. And I'll be fine with
I'm
that.
with you. Yeah.
I'm not an anything. I'm not a morning or a night person. I'm just what I am at the moment.
Okay.
I know.
Lynn time.
Lynn
The Lynn
defines
time.
I
categorizing.
go on Lynn.
Categorizing.
I had a friend. I went to France for some research about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I had a friend say, "Well, how's the jet lag?" I'm like, "Oh,
What?
didn't have it. Why? I'm in the Lynn zone. Okay, so I just really didn't affect me at all. I
It's
went. I
3
came
a.m.
back.
somewhere.
Yeah.
It's right. It's 3 a.m. somewhere, and I'm cool." Yeah. So the only good thing about being in the Lynn zone is, no jet lag. I'm working on. Seems like they could, if you go on your world clock and they've got Paris and New York, they need to have Lynn,
Oh man.
right? Which they can Lynn,
Greenwich Lynn time.
Greenwich Lynn time. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
That is.
With the discipline of working from home. So what I find with my students is that like there are some, and maybe this is broader or something like that. Like there are some people that seem that just take to working from home alone in isolation, and there's some people that just don't seem built for it, right? Because I see that in my students, and I saw that in my students over the last couple of years. Like there's some people online learning is exactly what they need. Like whatever, they're young moms, and if it wasn't for an online class, they probably wouldn't be able to go to school, right? Uh, and it's just the right thing that they need, and they can excel at it and they crush it. But then I see a lot of people that just like they just fail, like they just like they're not there, they don't do stuff, they just kind of like they can't they I don't know, it's like some people have that I don't know, like they're able to function on their own, like they can create their own structure, and other people thrive if the structure is created for them. Like if you create the structure, they can integrate into it and thrive. Some people don't like that. Some people can create their own structure and thrive, and some people don't like that.
I think it's a skill set,
Yeah, yeah,
and that you could,
yeah,
give
develop
them
it.
ideas for, okay, here's how you work on your own. So, for example, a lot of times when I'm writing and it's, creation rather than editing, I like to write in a coffee shop
Yeah,
because I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to socialize, but I want that energy and I
yeah,
want the white noise of other people. And I don't want to be distracted by all the home stuff. And and I don't know. I mean, some coffee shops I can sit down and I can work just great. Some I can go in and I just get back up. I'm like, I'm sorry, this place doesn't work to me. Head out the door. I could spend years trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, or I just go with my instinct, which is no, can't write here. You
yeah,
know, and I just think you develop a skill set when you work at home a lot, and that you could actually, teach or help people figure out.
yeah,
Okay, this is how I can work on my own.
Find
yeah,
out the conditions of success for that
yeah,
particular
yeah,
Right,
person.
yeah. How do you
right.
set yourself up for
Because
success?
yeah, because you think, oh, how do other people do this? They don't even think, oh, I'm supposed to sit here at home and do it, and they don't,
Yeah,
and they don't realize, all right, this isn't working for you, but something else could.
yeah.
It
Try
absolutely
something different.
could.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
or
yeah,
something different.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can totally,
Yeah.
I could theoretically totally work from home, but
I can theoretically yeah,
theoretically,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes I do because of something or another that comes up. And
Mm,
I do two of my podcasts, the YWL Online podcast I do from home,
mhm.
and all. And so if it's close to time to doing that, then I'll just stay home. But it's really not the most productive use of my time. I find that I do work better in an actual office. Now, what's funny is I used to work in a co-working space a few blocks away that was crowded, and I liked like you said, Lynn, the white noise and the energy
Yeah.
of the group.
Yeah.
I did like it, and I decided to move spaces to a different location. And now, even though there's like a half dozen or so desks in here, I am the only person who comes to this in here. Um, there's another room similar to mine that has dedicated desks, and there's like one or two guys who work in there. I almost never see them, and so it took a little getting used to, but I found that I work really well just because I'm sitting at a desk is actually the reason why I'm getting work done, not not the other people. Although I do kind of miss it sometimes because you can have
Yeah.
conversations with people. I'm only ever have except for the show. I only ever have conversations with myself. It seems sometimes.
That's
Yeah.
funny. And again, it kind of speaks to sort of like habits or triggers in
Mhm.
your brain, right? Like, okay, so I'm at my desk, and that, boom, that's
Yeah.
the I work trigger, right?
Right.
That's
I
part of your skill set. That's what makes you go to work.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember this was probably like 2010 or something, like 1,000 years ago in 2010. Like somebody was talking about working from home and what they do, and they get themselves dressed up in a suit, and they get their suitcase, and they say bye to their wife, and they walk out the front door, and they go down the back steps into the back door and into their office, right? And like that was their ritual, right? Like that triggered that.
Yeah.
That was
Whatever
the thing
works,
that,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like sort of flip their brain from home to work. And yeah, you got to kind of figure out how do you trick your brain into doing what you want.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I have a friend who did something similar to that way back before, pre-pandemic, and basically his only rule was if the door is closed, I'm at the office.
Nice. Yeah.
And his wife would if his wife needed him for something, she would have to call.
Make an appointment.
Well, no, but she would have to call him, even though they're only
Did
separated by a
did
door.
reciprocate if he needed something?
Mhm.
Did she have her rules? And
Yeah,
he
they
called
had
her?
they had rules. There was a tit for tat.
They got it
Okay.
worked out.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, I get up and I do my yoga and train the dog and drink coffee, but I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna get dressed, and I'm gonna be ready for the day. I'm not gonna sit around and yoga pants 24 hours a day because I won't work.
Yeah.
It's like you do have rituals, and then at the end of the day, when the work is done, I'm gonna put on really, really ancient Levi's that are disintegrating around me, my favorite jeans, and put my hair up and take the dog for a walk and then pour some wine and
Yep.
puppy and I
Boom.
are gonna cook dinner and watch Black Spot on Netflix. It's like it's my okay, the day is done tradition. Yeah,
At
I do
3
think
a.m., repeat it all over again.
I do think those rituals
Yep.
Yeah,
are good
definitely
for your
think.
mindset, and they're a comfort in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I put
Yeah,
on my
Richard, and like,
pants, it's time to
yeah, I
work.
got to put on my pants. Yeah.
Or I'm gonna put lipstick on before I write, and that's just
That's funny. That's awesome. Oh, I got
yeah.
to do something like that.
Red
Put
lipstick
lipstick on?
writing day, or
Yeah. Put on my pants. It's time to write. These are my writing pants.
There you go.
yeah. I do have my favorite writing jeans.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I should not admit to that, should I?
It's too late now. It's on the internet.
Yeah, my favorite writing jeans, my favorite writing sweater. What can I
There's
tell
a
you?
story in that. Somebody steals your writing jeans and your
Ah!
jeans is
That would
gone
be
and nobody's
horrible.
looking over your shoulder anymore. And you're like, oh, I got to get my jeans back. And
Okay, yeah,
They
I mean,
did
you
it. It was
speak to
called
me
The Big
walking into the
Lebowski.
office, private investigator. Yeah, I need
it's
you to get
private
my
investment.
jeans back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. There's
Well,
a premise in
not
everything.
missing persons. This is missing jeans. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I'll pay you. I gotta have those jeans back.
Yeah, gotta have them back. Yeah.
Can't write without them.
Nope.
Oh goodness. Any superstitions when it comes? Well, I mean, any superstition. I guess the thriller writer would have to have the superstitions if anybody's going to. But are there any rituals or superstitions around you have around your writing?
Trying to think. I have rituals, but I don't know if I've got any superstitions. Okay, well, this is going to sound weird. So if you want my weirdness, I think that the more I write, your plot's not working, and my way of handling that was to throw myself into the floor and sob, and that never worked. And now, yeah, now I realize that whatever is going on with the story, I will figure it out. So I quit worrying about it. And I feel now like the story is an entity, it's real. And all I have to do is pull the threads and I'm going to find
Yeah.
it. Okay. Because don't you find those magical things like you put something in the book and then you realize later, oh, I didn't even know I needed that. And I
Yep.
just came up with this new concept and it's perfect. I mean, don't you think that lends to the belief that the story's already there? It's just waiting for you to figure
It's
it out.
there. Yep. Yeah. And sometimes,
Well, call that my superstition. I believe that. I do.
yeah. And it's like I'll find this as well. Like you'll be writing along, and it's like, okay, I don't know the thing here. There's a big, and so I'll just like XXX highlight it. I'll come back to that, and then
I
it's
put
like
on my
whatever.
worry list.
Yeah, it's like 2 months later. I'm like on like whatever 80 chapters away, and I was like, oh, I know how this is all gonna fit together now. And then like, oh, it's revealed. So
And the
sometimes,
weird, mysterious thing is it does fit. And
yeah,
everything is all set up and laid out perfectly.
yeah.
So the question is, how does that happen?
So as you take everything, it's like you take the marble and you chip away everything that doesn't look like an elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever my
Yeah.
comment
Well,
was.
so, me, I would say it exists and I just pull the threads, and someone else would say, no, your subconscious knew what you wrote and came up with something that worked. I'm
Or
like,
the
can't that be the
muse,
same thing?
the muse is there whispering into your ear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kill your main character.
No.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah.
You kill your main character.
For me, I have a playlist. I write like for music.
Yes.
And so like I'll create one for like every story, right? It's like just whatever, like some music that gets me into the mood of the story, and I'll make the
Yeah,
big
I do
playlist of
that
it, and that's all I'll listen to when I'm writing, right? Is just
over and
that
over.
music, right? Um,
You know why that's so powerful though? Because then a year later, I mean, months later, you get your edits back and you're like, oh, then you turn that music on and it puts you.
you're like you're like in the zone. You're like
Yeah.
you're in the world. You're in there already, right?
I mean, I have
Yeah.
music for every story and I have colors that I love. I
Yep.
know it's weird. There's certain colors that really appeal to me for certain novels. And I used to paint rooms that color and think, gosh, that's beautiful. And then I'm like, the novel's done. I'm like, really, I don't think you blue works for the dining room. It looks
Yeah, I got to repaint my
ridiculous.
house every time I get a new story.
Oh, yeah, so I had to quit doing that. I had to quit.
Yeah,
I would lived one place where I had some steps that were painted, and so for every novel, I would paint the steps the color of the novel, and
neat.
my neighbors would come up. We were trying to figure out your color scheme as you keep changing the steps. Yeah, I don't think I can
Yeah.
explain this.
You're like, you're not gonna get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I just trying new things.
You're not gonna understand.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
say I have a color for every novel, they're going to be like, what? No, not going to get it.
It's like I should get a superstition. It's like
I know
some
we
kind
need
of
to
good
work
luck.
on our superstitions,
Yeah.
because they
Like
can work for you.
getting stuff published is hard. It's good to I need my lucky something
We
to.
need some magical thinking to get us
Yeah.
through the brutal
We
publishing.
need more magical thinking. Totally. I, I don't know. Need. I'm looking around my
Magical
office.
thinking.
I need something,
I
man.
like that.
It's time for some magic in the office. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Do that. You know what this office needs? More magical thinking. Do that at work. Do that. All right, all you kids, do that at
Put
work on
it
your
on your
weekends on
list
Monday.
put it on your to-do list.
Yeah.
And let us know how that plays out.
Yeah. You want to know why we're missing our quarterly results? Not enough magical thinking.
If I told someone I need more magical thinking, my friends would go, you don't.
You're
You got
good. Yeah.
plenty
Yeah.
of that going on.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a little less magical
Yeah.
thinking.
You should lend it out.
I know I got lost in France. And the Siri gives you terrible directions within a city. So the way I found my way back was I followed feathers. And it got me back to my hotel. So it
Follow
did work. And
feathers.
my son's like, mom's navigation, follow the feathers. Yeah, that's a good thing to rely on when you're in.
That sounds like some magical thinking.
That sounds
Yeah, so
total.
I'm saying maybe I don't need any more magical thinking.
You
Maybe
have
I need
just the
less.
right amount of magical thinking.
Yeah.
Just gotta get the right.
It's a balance. It's all about moderation.
Yeah, balance
Yeah.
issues.
Well, it's all about having an anchor and being able to get back to where you started from. Because it's like because everybody's always talking about, oh, we got to think out of the box. We got to do the, be, color outside the lines and all that kind of stuff. And that's magical thinking, right
Like
there.
you need something that links you back to we got to think outside the box, but let's keep the ladder against the wall so we can get back in when we need
Make
to.
sure we got the
You
ladder up
know-
against the right roof.
There's a real simple way of doing all of this, which is my motto, which is break all the rules.
Break him.
Break all the rules. I can't quite help it because if someone tells me to do something, even if they're right and I know I should do it, there's something inside me that's like, no, you told me to do it and I have to do just the opposite of what you told me.
I can't let you think you
Weird
control me.
compulsion. I would be so easy to manipulate. You just tell me to do the opposite of what you want me to do. I will immediately do it, even if I know you're manipulating me because I just can't stop.
That's another thing you shouldn't be telling the world. That should be your
I
secret.
know, right? I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Don't pay your taxes. I'll pay my taxes. I love it.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well,
Yes.
I'm looking at the clock, and I know it's well after midnight now for Lynn.
Someone. Hey.
I'm in the Lynn zone.
You're in the Lynn zone.
Yeah.
No, it's actually
It's
It's,
11 o'clock.
3:30 a.m. for me right now.
3:30 a.m. Okay.
In the Lynn zone,
In the
which is
Lynn
okay.
zone.
I'm in the Lynn zone.
No, was it a couple weeks ago? I had on a gentleman who was calling from London, and so it really was 3 a.m. for him.
Ooh.
What time is it in Canada?
So I'm here on the West Coast with Bill. So
Yeah.
for it's
20 after 9.
20 after 9
Oh,
for
you're
me.
not worried about what time it is in Canada.
Yeah,
You're on
exactly.
time.
Yeah, 20 after 9 for me.
Yeah. But okay.
Actually, it's Canadian time, so it's 9:20, eh?
9:20 a.m. You know how to spell Canada for us, Brad.
Yeah, exactly. Canada.
Yep.
That's how you spell Canada, eh?
That is.
Yep. That's funny.
Now we have a little city out here called La Cañada, and so it's spelled Canada except for the Enya. And so we sometimes, back when I was going to Cal Poly, it's Cañada. And back when I was going to Cal Poly, we used to head out that direction a lot because I was working on the Rose Parade. And we used to joke around and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to La Canada."
La Canada.
La
Yeah.
Canada. That's
funny.
the New Mexican joint up the street from you.
That's funny. Yeah.
As long as there's margaritas, it's fine.
Yeah, that sounds like the French portion of Canada. La Canada.
Wouldn't that be Le Canada?
Les Canada, Les Canadiens. Yeah. Ah oui, oui.
No, it would be in Canada.
Un Canadian. Yeah. I don't speak French very well. I can admit that. Yeah.
You know, the only people who will correct your French are Americans.
That's awesome.
I won't, because I don't speak a lick of French. Well, no, that's not true. Un, deux, trois. That's about all I know.
Yeah, that's a start. You're getting there.
And I think I can. I was told once I could a word that is supposed to be some kind of swear, but I'm not sure what it is. So.
Sacre bleu.
Sacre bleu. No. But I can talk in a silly French accent and fart in your general direction.
Merde. Yeah, I can swear. I got a couple of swears in French. That's all that you really need to know to get. That's practical.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I know some food, like coq au vin.
No, that's practical French. It's
like French fries.
French fries. That's right.
Frites.
Pommes frites.
Yeah, frit. Yeah. French fries. French people don't even call French fries French fries. They call them frits. Yeah. Frit.
So it's a German thing.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, French fries originated in Belgium.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Thank God for the Belgians.
That's right.
Yeah, which is why people in France went nuts when we called them freedom fries, because all my French friends would say, "But they originated in Belgium. What are you thinking?" I'm like, yeah, don't think we'll thank Belgium for this.
French fries, waffles, and beer. Thanks,
right.
Belgium.
And chocolate. They have some chocolate.
And chocolate.
Yep.
We got your back, Belgium. You keep hitting out the hits like that. Well,
I mean, what's not to like, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Totally.
I got to get over there someday. I've always wanted to go to Europe, but haven't had the opportunity yet.
Yeah. No, might not be a good time to go.
No.
Well, maybe some areas.
I'll wait until after the nuclear explosions stop.
Yeah, wait till after
Gosh,
Armageddon.
there's always something going on. You'll never get to Europe if you worry about nuclear annihilation.
Yeah, that's right. There's always.
I mean, seriously, I would prefer to be one of the first ones taken out. Okay, I've read all those survival dystopian novels, and I do not care to struggle like that. Okay, so the first wave, just take me out.
Yeah,
around.
Game over. Yeah,
I'm done. Move along.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're thinking.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I don't have to doomsday prep. I'm gone in the first round.
Yes, please. Act 1, she's gone. Kill off the main character.
That's right. Kill off the main character in the first act.
Yeah.
No, you have to love the main character you kill off first. Then you can kill them off.
No, here's the thing. cruelty to readers. I am not in favor of cruelty to readers. Okay. I think the whole point of reading is so that you will enjoy it. And your novel should be full of moments that are like chocolate truffles for your reader. Okay. You kill off the reader. That's like handing them a plunger. Okay. It's just
like,
not
here's
right.
some broccoli.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, go do some chores. No. Can I keep feeding them truffles? That's my.
Do you like this truffle? It is actually broccoli. Ha!
No, can't do that to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wait a second. Oh man, I'm gonna find it. Let's see.
There's a chocolate truffle broccoli thing to find? I'm impressed.
There is no broccoli in chocolate
There's
truffle.
no broccoli and okay, no.
And that is the manifesto of Lynn.
Okay.
Halloween coming
Whenever
up. I got some ideas.
When somebody brings up chocolates and truffles, I always think of the X-Files. There was a scene where the cigarette smoking man was sitting there, and he said, "Life is like a box of chocolates, a cheap, thoughtless, perfunctory gift that nobody ever asks for, unreturnable because all you get back is another box of chocolates."
Sounds like a great system to me. I'll take the chocolate.
Yeah, there it is.
Do you really think the smoking man knew what was good in life?
No, because he was smoking cigarettes instead of cigars.
Totally,
yeah. A cigar and a glass of red wine and then some chocolate is
cognac.
That's a
Yes.
Yeah, even better. See,
or scotch. We can go back to the scotch again.
And
a fine scotch.
Yeah, isn't this better than broccoli? This is what you
It's much better than broccoli. Okay. Enough of these shenanigans.
Nice.
Yes, it must end at some point. As much fun as we're having.
Every good story has an end.
It does, except for the never-ending story, which unfortunately never ended.
No.
Well, it really was good talking to you guys tonight. I'm glad we managed to navigate the traffic and the technology.
Yes.
All the viewers don't realize this, but it was a saga to get this show started.
It was indeed.
All around. So, holy kudos to us.
Yep. Did.
Brad, you were the only one who didn't have some kind of heartache getting to be here.
I was just sitting here in my basement, eating my broccoli. Wish somebody would talk to me.
Yeah, but you had patience. That was your skill set.
Exactly. Yeah.
You were our anchor.
That's right.
Come on, you can do it. We'll wait for you. Come on.
Hey, this is going to be published on Anchor.
Nice segue.
Oh, see, another mysterious coincidence.
Yeah,
that
nice segue.
Life really is the X-Files.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for having us, Bill. It was fantastic.
I always ask, is there anything else you find people want to say to the night? When I do it with on the other show, it's fine gentlemen, but I can't say fine gentlemen because there aren't two fine gentlemen.
Because neither of us are fine gentlemen.
No. And so it's like, do either of you fine people have anything to say to the nice people, to the nice audience? There we go.
Okay.
No.
What I would, I don't know.
Final comment?
I would say thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. One reason we read is so we're not alone, and I think that goes for podcasts too.
Yep. Yeah.
Websites.
Agreed.
Plugs.
Websites, plugs. Again, if you're still here at the end of this, awesome. Again, like Lynn, thanks for showing up. Websites, plugs.
Yes.
For me, BradAnderson2000.com. Apparently, there's 2,000 of us. BradAnderson2000.com. You can find if you're interested in books. It's blue. I painted my house blue for this book here, Duotero. But yeah, check out my website. Pop in, say hello. Find me on Facebook, whatever's. And yeah, I was happy to chat about stuff.
You can find me on lynnhightower.com. And this is my latest book, The Enlightenment Project, strangely about a neurologist who was possessed.
I love it.
I know.
Okay. There are
Okay.
2,000 Brad Andersons and only one Lynn Hightower.
Only one Lynn. I know,
Just
right?
kidding. Yeah. One Lynn on Lynn time in the Lynn zone.
In the Lynn zone.
In the
Like
Lynn
we're
zone.
clones. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you both for being on, and I'm really glad we didn't have to cancel. That would have been a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a bucket of fun.
Yeah. Thank you. It was good to meet both of you
Well, the
guys.
pleasure
Yeah,
was
you
all mine.
betcha.
And with that,
Cheers to everyone out there.
everybody be safe out there. Remember to wash your hands and stay tuned for the ending credits. And don't forget the chocolate truffles. Thanks for watching. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank my producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I am, of course, your humble host. I'd like to thank my special guests, Lynn Hightower and Brad C. Anderson. Support the show if you feel so led. We're over on patreon.com as Bald Spots Pro. And don't you dare miss YWL Online, airing Tuesdays and Saturdays. Let's see, what else? Come on, next slide. Like I don't know this. Tune in next time for Erica Ann and Joanne McLean. Please be sure to like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay informed and kick that algorithm into gear, because we want to reach more people. So do all that, and everything will be just fine. And thanks again for tuning in, and have a wonderful whenever.